Happy November, good people! As of today, we have just one more week to go until God of War Ragnarok is available to play. Can't wait to sink my teeth into the game next week, as I'm sure all of you are as well. Now, before we get into today's video, I want to quickly go over the two winners from last month's game giveaway of God of War Ragnarok. Go ahead and skip to this moment here on screen if you want to take the shortcut straight to the content. A big congratulations to, hope I'm saying your names right, Krish Saini and Alexander Petrusevsky for winning a copy of God of War Ragnarok in this giveaway. You two earned the distinction of being the winners of my very first giveaway, so kudos to the both of you. I have reached out to you two via email to proceed with the reward. We had just over 1,000 people participate, and, well, I just gotta give you all huge kudos for making this giveaway way bigger than I expected. You're all winners in my book, and stay tuned because another giveaway is just around the corner. I just want to say that we are going to be doing many more giveaways in the future, including a holiday season giveaway starting in early December. Let me know what games you're interested in playing in December, and I'll keep it in mind for the giveaway. I will also open up a poll on a community post to see what kinds of games you all might be interested in. I'm thinking of the Callisto Protocol personally, a game that I'm super stoked to play, but that could change. As giveaways are a component to my work here at Fund My Life, this is my way to give back to the community regularly throughout the year. So for all of you who support the channel, thank you all for the support, as it really goes a long way. Alright, so let's get back to the contents of the video. We are going to be discussing some key new developments regarding the game's combat, skills, difficulty settings, and even more delicious combat information that we haven't touched up on yet on this channel. This information compiles my takeaways of the recent Q&A session that God of War Ragnarok game director Eric Williams and some other members of the development team did. If you've already seen or heard about the news from another channel, then feel free to click off this video, as I haven't covered any of this here, but I will go in and compile this information briefly for you all here with my analysis for those who would like a brief refresher of some of the awesome features we haven't discussed before. And with that, let's get into it. God of War Ragnarok's combat evolution is all about respecting player choice in combat. Player choice is the recurring theme from this Q&A session, and it seems that the developers want you to feel as involved or as little involved in the way you build up Kratos and Atreus to match your combat preferences and playstyle. One thing that the developers wanted to improve upon over God of War 2018 was the stun damage, where in the previous game, stun damage was mainly only achieved through Kratos' hand-to-hand combat and Atreus' arrows. The developers are giving players many more options to deal stun damage this time around that serves as a much more viable strategy in combat scenarios in God of War Ragnarok. Not only from the inclusion of the two new shield types, being the Dauntless Shield and the Stonewall Shield, is the only way the team is pushing forward more options for those interested in stun damage, but the various armor players find throughout the game will have direct impacts on these stats as well. The developers made clear in the Q&A that the armor in God of War Ragnarok has a much more deliberate purpose than the armor in God of War 2018, and that the armor pieces have obvious and deliberate effects and stat boosts to specific combat traits, including, but not limited to, raw attack power, stun damage, elemental damage, runic abilities, and more. The armor in God of War 2018 was quite formulaic, that would have gradual benefits to all stats, and only further became more specific to certain stats once tackling the endgame content. From the beginning moments to the late game content, God of War Ragnarok will have armor that is more deliberate about certain stat bonuses and strengths and weaknesses, giving players an incredible amount of permutations to the builds they want to play. If players don't want to get into the whole min-maxing game with stats, then the game also has an auto-equip function that equips the best all-around armor that focuses on equal distribution of stats. Players will also be happy to hear that every armor in the game is able to be increased to the max level, which happens to be level 9. which is a stark contrast to the last game, where the earlier gear is rendered not as effective since most of the armor in God of War 2018 isn't able to reach those high levels. So, if you really like the stats of your armor set in God of War Ragnarok and want to continue using it to keep in line with your playstyle, you can do just that by leveling that gear up to the max level of level 9. To add even more greatness to this information, players are also able to transmogrify their equipment, or in gaming lingo, use transmog. This essentially means that if you like the stats of a certain armor set but want to change your armor's appearance, you can imbue the stats of one piece of armor that are reflected in the appearance of a different armor piece. If the appearance of the armor you keep is important to you as well as its accompanying stats, then this feature will be a godsend to you. I'm really happy about this feature, as I wasn't really impressed with the cosmetic appearance of Kratos' armor in the late game in God of War 2018. We will at least have the option to have the appearance of any armor piece that we have acquired, and imbue the stats of another armor piece into it to keep the style and stats that we want. Continuing on to other areas of choice and customization. We now have what are called shield components, which are what pommels are to the Blades of Chaos and what axe grips are to the Leviathan axe. Shield components are, what its namesake is, a component that can be added to the shield to modify certain qualities of the shield the component is equipped to. I can't wait to see what these shield components do, as the pommels and grips did wonders to introduce new aspects of combat to those weapons. It's good to see the pommels and grips returning in God of War Ragnarok with the inclusion of the shield components, and I can only expect that we will be seeing more weapon enhancements later in the game when we hopefully get our hands on more weapons in the game's campaign. In case that wasn't already enough information about the customization and choice, we have a doozy of an update with the skills and skill trees in the game. So, in addition to spending experience points on skills in the skill tree, any ability you use while in combat will level up its proficiency, which, in turn, has 3 levels, from bronze, silver, and ultimately gold. Upon completing the gold tier of a skill, you will be awarded a skill mod token, which you can redeem to modify that skill in a number of ways, including but not limited to attack damage, stun damage, elemental damage, and more to that specific skill. Talk about incredible ways to further customize your arsenal, as so much of this game can be tinkered with to tailor the experience to your liking. It looks like Santa Monica Studio have done just about as much as they possibly can to refine and iterate upon the previous game's combat and systems to make the game appeal to those who want to have that extra customization should they seek it. For those of you who worry about this becoming a bit too deep and don't want this to impact your enjoyment of the game, then don't worry, as the developers are well aware of this and reassure players that this level of customization is optional and is only there for those who want the extra degree of expression with their builds and playstyles. I do imagine these skills will prove to be essential in the Give Me God of War difficulty though, which reminds me, we need to talk about the difficulty modes of God of War Ragnarok, right? New to God of War Ragnarok is an additional difficulty, resulting in 5 difficulty modes that players can select. The easiest difficulty is called Give Me Story, which offers very little in the way of challenge and is primarily for those who don't want to stress over the combat and can easily enjoy the story of the game. This is the new difficulty. One tier up from that would be the game's easy mode, called Give Me Grace. Enemies are less aggressive and hit less hard than the harder difficulties, with fewer enemies populating combat scenarios. Give Me Balance is the game's normal mode, where this is the standard difficulty, presenting scenarios that are designed to keep players on their toes without overwhelming them. Give Me No Mercy is the game's hard mode, where enemies will hit harder, are more aggressive, and will require the player to adapt to the dangers head on, leaving little room for error. And finally, we have Give Me God of War, the game's very hard mode that requires players to use every tool at their disposal to navigate through the game's combat sequences. Enemies are ruthless, very aggressive, and will do their best to punish the player when the player makes a mistake. The developers stated in the question and answer session that Give Me God of War difficulty is more of a seamless entry into the game this time around, meaning the game naturally gets more and more challenging the further you get into the game. Earlier points in the game will not be as crushingly difficult as they were in the previous God of War 2018, but the difficulty will ramp up more and more the further into the game one progresses, resulting in a difficulty that matches or exceeds the Give Me God of War difficulty in God of War 2018. Interestingly enough, players are not locked to that difficulty if they choose to play on Give Me God of War in Ragnarok, but if they choose to move to a lower difficulty, keep in mind that you cannot move back up to Give Me God of War. For those who want to experience every moment in Give Me God of War, you must play through the entirety of the game without changing the difficulty. So, what do you think about these changes to the difficulties? Let me know your thoughts below, good people. And there you have it. There was a lot of information to take away from this, and it looks like there are some incredible, small, nuanced changes that really add up to make a significant impact, especially to those who are interested in the build variety and playstyles. This makes me even more excited to play this game, and I'm excited for all of us to finally be able to get our hands on this game in just a week. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash that like button and hit the subscribe button if you loved it. Head on over to this video here if you want some more details on the game's combat if you didn't manage to see it before. Thanks again for all the support, good people, and a big congratulations to those who won the giveaway. There will be many, many more giveaways to come soon, good people, so stay tuned for more information regarding those. In the meantime, stay classy, my friends, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!